What's up, y'all? This is Alex from the Rim Review. The Rim Review is a page that offers in-depth analysis and gives nuance to the way you watch basketball. In this series, we're going to be going over every single prospect in the upcoming NBA draft. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the 6'8 center out of UCLA, Adem Bona. When looking at Adem Bona's offensive game, a few strengths stand out. The first of which is his post scoring, as 46% of all of his possessions are post-ups. Secondly, he's a very solid athlete and lob threat. Despite his limited height from the center position, he has a good wingspan and has great leaping ability. Finally, Bona is a very high motor player, which leads to him getting lots of offensive rebounds. Unfortunately for Bona, there are some pretty big weaknesses on the offensive end. The first of which is he really struggles when teams double team him, as this frequently led to turnovers or forced bad shots. While I don't necessarily feel as if he's a player that people will need to double team in the post, his limited passing in the post and just overall panicking when he gets doubled is a very major red flag. His second weakness is just his poor passing in general, where Bona has a 0.48 assist to turnover ratio. Thirdly, he's a non-shooter and only attempted one three-pointer last season, which he missed. You don't have to be a shooter at the center position. However, in today's NBA, it's becoming more and more of a necessity. Finally, he just has an old school style of play. 20 years ago, I think Bona would definitely be considered a first-round pick with his great post touch, but there just aren't that many teams that are going to run the ball and run their offense through the post, and that's what Bona thrives on. So I don't know how much he's going to be able to contribute in today's modern NBA. Now, let's start off and watch a quick possession of Adem Bona in transition. Right here, Bona is going to run hard up the court and have a nice finish. What I love to see here is how he creates separation from his man, as they're pretty much even, and he accelerates and scores. On this possession, Adem Bona is going to get a really good offensive rebound tip-in, showcasing his length. This type of length is very good from him, and despite his lack of size, his wingspan is great. As on that possession, once again, another good offensive rebound putback. Right here, another physical offensive rebound, and puts the ball in the cup. On this possession, we're going to see Adem Bona in a dribble handoff situation. Right here, Bona's going to catch the ball on the wing, hand it off, twist, and a really good lob threat. You love to see this from Bona. What I like to see here specifically on this play is its really good instincts. When you hand the ball off, if the defender chooses to go under, like the Oregon State defender does here, your instinct should be immediately to twist the ball screen and set it in the other direction. The reason behind this is because all of this defender's momentum is going this way, and it's impossible to stop on a dime and recover to go this way. And that's exactly what happens, and he has to go over the top. And when he goes over the top, this forces this big to take a step up, which then allows Adem Bona to get downhill for a pretty lob. Really good instincts and a great play. I also love how that shows just the general viewer that there's more than just a highlight in a dunk. On this possession, it's another dribble handoff. Adem Bona sets a good screen and gets a dunk. Really good stuff and just showcasing great leaping ability, and it's impressive from Adem. Now let's watch another Adem Bona screening situation. On this play, Bona's going to throw the ball and immediately chase into a screen. What I like to see here from Bona is the fact that he's looking at the ball and he's ready, even though he doesn't get it immediately. A lot of times when bigs first turn their head around in the pick and roll, they expect this pocket pass. In this position, it would be over the top. But Bona keeps looking for another step and gets it late for a nice dunk. One thing that Bona could thrive on a little bit more and definitely needs to work on is handling the basketball once he keeps a dribble handoff. Right here, Bona's going to make the decision to keep the handoff. However, as you see, his handle is loose and it leads to a turnover. This also is an issue in isolation situations, and it's something that I really think Bona is going to have to do if you want to run an offense through a delay system. As you see right here, Bona's trying to dribble the ball up and has no clue what to do, leading to a steal. I would like to see Bona just flow into a DHO here, like a DL handoff, which is when you dribble right here and just hand it off with this guy. I'd like that because it would allow this man to get downhill. I would probably want him to clear out, and maybe you have this guy set a hammer screen for him to go to the corner. Something like that would be a lot more interesting and work, but this is not a winning offense. We're going to see more on this possession with, once again, Bona having a relatively loose handle. Here, they're going to run delay, which is when they pass back to the big, but as we see, Bona doesn't protect the basketball, has tunnel vision, and spins directly into the help, leading to a turnover. On this possession, it's once again more of the same. He does a good job rolling, but doesn't get it. And then he flashes up, sets a screen, once again, gets it late. And then here, the handle's awkward. I'd like to see him immediately kick this out because L. Ellis is committing right here. It's a very simple pass to make. You could even jump stop and then have this guy cut if you were really skilled, if this was like Jokic and Aaron Gordon, and then you just hit him right here. But this is not the play. While this is true, there have been a couple times where he's shown flashes of maybe being able to do it, so you know it's in there. And on this possession, he rips through and uses his length to score. Now, let's watch Adem Bona in the post, which is his best part of his game. Right here, Bona's going to get the ball in the post against a much taller defender. Despite this, he's physical and really has a nice right-hand touch shot. And wow, look at him put the ball down, just showing a little bit of swagger. Right here, he does another good job sealing, looks at his man, jab steps, and then does, once again, a nice touch shot. One thing to know when watching Bona in the post is that he almost exclusively will shoot with his right hand. He doesn't have as much of a left hand, which is typical, but it's definitely to a much larger extent than you would see from most post-up players. Right here, he reloads, gets a step in deeper, and he loves that shot. If you get him right here to a nice touch shot, it's automatic. What I like seeing here is him initially recognizing that he doesn't have the best positioning, passing it out, and then just getting his butt into his defender and getting another step or two. On this possession, it's another right-handed touch shot. He's going to set this screen, flow into a post-up against a very tall and physical Eddie Lampkin. He's going to get into him, and once again, he's money with the right hand. One move in particular that he does at a really high level is the drop step, and we're going to see that on this possession, where he's going to face up with his man, wait for the defense to clear, drop step with perfect footwork for a really pretty dunk. This level of post footwork is really amazing and why he's able to score as a center that is only 6'8". On this possession, it's once again another drop step, and look how he's just able to use his shoulder to get open. Really pretty and fun to watch. Very much an old man's game. On this possession, Adem Bona comes off of a punch screen. For those of you who don't know, a punch screen is this block-to-block screen right here. Bona comes off of it and uses it to get the ball in the post. He faces up with his man, jab steps, and what I love seeing here is how he uses his shoulder and finishes off of two to score. Honestly, watching him in the post, I'm very much reminded of Al Jefferson. Definitely not nearly as good at Adem Bona, but still Al Jefferson, loves seeing that post play. On that clip, he did a good job sealing. Really fun to watch. Just right here, you're going to see another seal. And look at how he's able, as soon as the defense tries to front the post, he completely changes his direction, gets his back into him, and wow, really great stuff. It's just impressive to watch. Now, let's watch what he struggles with in the post, which is double teams. And we're going to see that right here. The Arizona State defender comes in, gets a steal. Part of this is on this UCLA teammate for not calling out the double. Right here, when he goes, you should be calling this out immediately. But another issue is Adem Bona just is uncomfortable and not as strong with the basketball. On this possession, it's going to be another instance of this. Bona gets the ball in the post, initially feels comfortable, and then he throws this pass because the sight of the double team panics him and he immediately gets rid of it. I don't think you have to panic as much when this double occurs. Yes, you want to get it out, but you don't have to pass this immediately, and it's just an awkward pass leading to a turnover. On this possession, it's another example of Adem Bona struggling with the double teams. Right here, he tries to pass because he's feeling this pressure from number 14 on Cal, but look, he completely telegraphs the pass, and it's a turnover. On this possession, Adem Bona could be a little bit more physical in the post. Right here, he's going to get it, and typically he's pretty good with his physicality, but as you see here, he's off balanced, and once again, a big issue of his game is he forces shots. Once he gets the ball in the post, it's not coming back out, which is an issue. There's 9 seconds on the shot clock. Once you're bumped and pick it up here, you don't have to like immediately throw up a shot. It's something he can work on a lot more. On this possession, it's another example of a little bit just not the best decision making and would like to see more physicality from him. Right here, he drop steps. It's not as good. He's clearly bothered by the taller defender. This botheredness by height is very concerning from him because he's going to be going up against much taller defenders in the NBA. Right here, I love how physical he was to catch the basketball. However, he forces up a shot. Once again, at times he can be a black hole in the post. This is why I don't know if NBA teams are going to love him, because so much of his game depends on you revolving your offense around him, and I don't think he's a talented enough player to justify doing that. Now, let's move on to Adem Bona's defensive game. When looking at Adem Bona's defense, his number one strength is rim protection. He had 57 blocks last season and does a really good job jumping up and remaining vertical. Another big strength for him is he's simply a high motor player. He's going to fight and he's going to make it difficult for you to score on him defensively. Finally, he is a really good pick and roll defender as a big. Now, while he lacks the height to be a drop coverage typical big of the NBA, he's used to playing in a lot of different pick and roll coverages, such as soft hedges or hard hedges, and at times has shown flashes of maybe switching. And because he's done that, it makes him a promising pick and roll defender where he only gave up 0.89 points per possession last season. There are a few weaknesses to his game defensively, and the first of which is his size. The elephant in the room is he's a 6'8 center, and that may not be enough to cut it in the NBA. Additionally, Adem Bona sometimes will struggle when he has to switch onto quicker guards. While he does a decent job switching onto wings, it's definitely not his preferred outcome, and when he switches onto guards, it sometimes leads to him just getting blown by. Now, let's start off and watch Adem Bona protect the rim. Right here, Adem Bona is in a transition situation. As you can tell, he initially starts off pretty far behind his man, about here. However, Bona runs extremely hard, and wow, what an impressive block. He's just that guy. This possession is going to be another instance of Adem Bona playing with a very high motor, and wow, once again, he has a knack for protecting the basket. On this possession, Adem Bona is actually going to not be in transition. However, he still protects the rim. Right here, he recognizes that the guard is going to drive, comes off of his man, and gets a nice help side block. These plays are extremely impressive, especially when you factor his lack of height. He's still going to protect the basket, and just like that play. These are Sports Center type plays that I guarantee you, if you're watching the draft in the second round, you're going to see them be shown on ESPN. Now, let's watch him in the pick and roll. In this possession, Adem Bona initially shows up in a softer hedge right here. He's not in a drop, he's ready in case the guard tries to turn the corner. And once the guard doesn't turn the corner, he comes back. And then when this screen occurs right here, he makes one swipe at the basketball right here to force the guard to take a retreat dribble. While this roll man is open, that's not necessarily Adem Bona's fault. That's this guy's fault for not being here. And Adem Bona recovers, and then multiple efforts to get the block. So despite his teammate making a mistake, Adem Bona does a great job. On this possession, Adem Bona is going to have a harder hedge where he comes out, once again forces the retreat dribble, and then he gets back and the defense is back to even, And then good post defense where he remains vertical. Really good stuff. Right here, it's another hard hedge for Adem Bona, and we're once again seeing a variety of different pick and roll coverages, which is great to see. He's being active, engaged, and plays without fouling, although I wasn't sure about that possession. Here, he's going to initially show up in a hedge, and then on this possession, he's actually going to be in a drop, and then come right back to even with his man, and then fight, and wow, that's impressive with his recovery. One issue that he does have in drop coverage is when the guard slips, when the screener slips, sometimes you should be lower. If you're going to be in drop coverage, the number one responsibility is making sure that this roll man does not get past you, and it's something that happens a lot. It happens with all centers, but because of Bona's lack of height, it becomes more glaring. And as we see on this possession right here, it leads to a lob dunk. On this possession, Adem Bona is going to switch, once again showcasing his versatility in screening situations. He's fighting hard, making this a tough pass, switches onto a guard, and does a good job staying in front of him with a block. However, on this possession, when he has to switch onto another more talented player, this doesn't come from a pick and roll, but this is switching onto an NBA guard in Jalen Tyson. Tyson completely blows by him and gets beat. Now let's look at him in the post, where he does do a really strong job competing defensively. Right here, Omar Ballo's calling for the ball, and Bona does a great job making it a tough pass to catch. This physicality and competitiveness is just great to see. On this possession, it's another instance of this, where Bona is competing. Look at how hard he's making this to catch, and then punches the ball out. Just really pretty and good basketball. One final post defense clip does highlight, once again, one of his bigger weaknesses, which is his lack of size. Is right here. He's going to have to guard the post. However, as you see, the Oregon State man just puts the ball up over him. While Bona tried his best there, sometimes his best doesn't cut it because of his lack of height. When looking at Adem Bona's game, it's kind of tough to evaluate because of how much of just a different style of player he is. And while his style of play is definitely old school and his height is different, one player that he does remind me of as far as a prospect is Bismack Biyombo. Bismack Biyombo is also an undersized center, and I could see Adem Bona having that type of career as a change of pace big off the bench who has a really good knack for defense, hustling, and protecting the rim. And one thing that I think Adem Bona would have as a plus is a little bit better of a touch around the rim and his post scoring. So I think that would be his ceiling, would be like a better Bismack Biyombo. And Bismack Biyombo is still in the NBA, and he's been in the NBA for a decade, so that's a pretty solid career. I think a more likely outcome would probably be a little bit of a worse version of Biz, because I think Biz is a little bit of a unicorn. And unfortunately for him, I think his floor is maybe not being able to have an NBA career because of his height. If he isn't able to become really switchable, which is I think something he has to be able to do, is that he needs to become mobile, then that could be an issue, and it might lead to him not being able to get past an initial two-way contract, and I think that's probably the contract he'll sign. As far as where I would draft him, I think he could probably go in the late 40s, mid 50s, and I wouldn't be shocked if he fell and wasn't drafted at all. However, I think that is an unlikely outcome, and I think he'll probably go around the late 40s. But yeah, overall, that's my take, and thank you for watching another episode of The Rim Review.